We are live. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I see Paula from Florida. If you're on with us, type who you are, where you're calling from or logging in from. Calling. I'm sure you're not calling into YouTube. Just so I can know who's on with us. We'll do a little bit of audio check here. Make sure that everything is going before we get started. Hey, Royce from Oregon. Hello. Let me know how this audio sounds to you guys. I've got a slightly different setup. Michelle in South Carolina. Hello, hello. Crackly, really? Audio sounds great. Paula, thank you. Linda. So maybe Michelle's ears are just crackly. Quebec. Anna, hello. Beth from Indiana. Hello, hello. So everybody else, okay, cool. Sounds like the audio is good for everybody. And we're going to get rolling here in just, looks like about another minute. If you have anything that you're specifically excited about, keep it real. I like that username. If you're specifically excited about something or have specific questions, go ahead and type it in there now. Thrival Training. That's the new professional coach, Jeff. Hey, buddy. Matt, hello from Utah. Excellent. I'm going to take my shoes off. You know why? Because I want to, and I can. Don Wilson, hello, hello. You guys can see that I'm going to get really small here, though. I'm losing all this shoe height. Might have to adjust my angle now. All right. Well, you can see that I'm up and around in my studio. That way I can move around a little bit. Sandra, Jody, hello, everyone. Hello, hello. We'll get started here within the minute. We're going to get started. The future of entrepreneurialism. Oh, it's good to see how many of you are on right now. I think this is a hugely important piece. I know it is, actually. Troy, what's up, brother? Debbie, Jill, Kathy. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. All right, let's get going. Now, the way the comments are going to work, you guys can keep chatting. I'm not going to be paying attention to the comments. It's going to pull me away from the flow. And I found out on our last YouTube Live that if I go back to the video, I can't comment on your individual posts. So I won't be able to respond to your comments. And that crushes me because I love responding to everybody's individual comments. But I will not be able to do that once this video is over. And I probably won't be watching very many of the comments, but feel free to talk to each other, share things that you're enjoying. So this is the future of entrepreneurialism in 2019 and beyond, but I want to really talk about what's about to happen in the near future. Many of you have seen me do videos before. I'm usually like almost straight to the camera and I have a few thoughts and I just riff. Today I've got notes and I'm going to follow these notes pretty closely because it's really important that we layer this stuff on so that it all makes the most amount of sense. And I'm going to try to minimize my ventures off the path, but we'll see. I'm sure I'll sway a little bit. There's no doubt. And what I want you to do now, don't try to capture what I say. This is on video. You can go back and watch it all again. What I want you to do is capture the thoughts that are inspired in your head, because those you're not going to be able to capture on video again. But what a lot of people do is they get the pen and paper out and they try to copy the words that people are saying. Don't copy my words, especially when you have access to them later. I want you to capture thoughts that you have like, oh, this would be a good article to do, or this is what I should do with my team members, or whatever those inspired thoughts are. Those are not captured on my video stream, obviously. That's what I want you to really get in the background. You might hear some background noise. There's a siren going through every once in a while. We get some ambulances coming through and so forth. So just bear with it. And if you're on the, if you're on, I don't know that I can show you this because I don't know that I have a link. But if you're on Facebook or maybe even Instagram and you're trying to log on here, I'm not really going to be able to pull it up quick enough. But up in the top right-hand corner, there are 3 dots. They're either horizontal or vertical. And if you click on those dots, they give you the option to open in your desktop, or it might say open in Safari if that's what you have. And then when you click that, it'll take you to the app, and that's how you'll be able to comment. You're not going to be able to comment if you're watching this and you're still inside Facebook or another application and you're on your mobile phone. So you're going to have to get it out of that application with the 3 dots up in the right corner, and then you'll be able to communicate here. So, all right, let's get rolling. So everybody that we have on the line here is some form of an entrepreneur, pretty much all of you. If you're on our list, you pay attention to anything I do, you're probably an entrepreneur. And that's who this video is really geared toward. Now, I know some of you are coaches, some of you are in network marketing or direct sales, but all of you are in what I'm just calling personal business. Of course, all business has a personal aspect to it. But when the business is driven by a person, you're selling to people, especially when you are the marketing channel or the product of some kind, you're the one going out and talking to folks, you're the one that's on the website, you are what people are buying or what people are buying through, then all of this is going to relate to you because the game is changing. And if you don't understand how the game is changing in this context of entrepreneurialism, then you're going to get left behind. I promise you that. And what I want to do is I want to start with a baseline. You know, I'm a life coach. I'm fascinated by why people do things, anything. Why do we have the ability to get our goals, but we don't get our goals? Why do we have opportunities right in front of us that are perfect for us, but we don't go after them? Why do we go after those, but then sabotage ourselves? And what's the difference between people who are living an amazingly successful and fulfilled life and people who are not? So I want to break this all the way down from the inside out perspective. I think that's the only way this is going to make the most amount of sense. If I go too fast or things aren't connecting for you, then just watch it again or ask people right here in the community what your questions are, and we'll do the best that we can to support you. So let's go all the way back. I like that. Find your why, then feed the why. I mean, it kind of truly is that simple, and I'm going to touch on that just using slightly different language, but I do really like that. So let's go all the way back to a baseline of primal human behavior as it relates to protection. That's kind of one of the threads of this whole conversation is protection. So at the core, we humans don't know what we're supposed to be afraid of when we're young until something happens. We get embarrassed, we get judged, we get laughed at, we get hurt, we watch something bad happen. So we have to learn what we are supposed to avoid. We have to learn what's dangerous out there. And it's all coming from a place of wanting to keep ourselves completely safe, right? Mentally safe, emotionally safe, physically safe, and alive. And so when we're learning, we're trying to figure out what is going to threaten our safety, our emotional safety, and our physical safety. So whatever we realize is a threat to us, we then protect against it. Now, you know, at a deep primal level, that's like shelter, right? We protect ourselves physically with shelter against the elements or against other people. We might move. That's how we protect our physical safety and our physical presence. What I'm going to talk mostly about is our emotional safety, but it's still the same process. We need to protect ourselves against something so that we don't get hurt again. That's really what it's about. But then because our unconscious mind is so committed to our protection, because it loves us so much, it actually over-exaggerates the fear. So let's say that when you were a young child, you got bitten by a dog. At first, you didn't know dogs were dangerous. Then the dog bites you. Then you realize I shouldn't do that again. And then you want to avoid getting bitten by a dog. So what'll happen is you'll not want to put your hand out to where dogs can bite you, right? But that fear gets overgeneralized to where you're not just afraid of that particular dog, you're afraid of that breed of dog. And then it gets overgeneralized to where now you're probably going to be afraid of all dogs. Then you're going to be afraid of all animals that kind of look like they might be dogs. Then maybe all four-footed creatures, and then maybe all two-footed creatures, and then maybe all creatures, and then maybe all things outside of you. That's the way this fear can get over-exaggerated when our safety is at stake. So that's the process. And then what happens is we transfer the fear of the danger to the behavior. So now, instead of being afraid of putting your hand out when a dog is able to bite you, you're just afraid of putting your hand out. Even when there isn't imminent danger in the environment, we connect the pain to the behavior. Then we think we're afraid of the behavior. And what that actually might do is it might get so overgeneralized that people are afraid of not just risking by putting their hand out, they're afraid of risking in general. Anything that's a risk means potential danger. So this is the spectrum of the way that we protect ourselves. And I'm going to go back to this and put it in context for entrepreneurialism. But there was a thought that I had and I just lost it. It was how we overgeneralize. Oh, what I was going to say is that a lot of people think they have a fear of speaking or fear of making phone calls or fear of relationships. We don't have a fear of any of those things. Nobody has a fear of flying, let's say. They have a fear of dying in a plane crash. Nobody has a fear of heights. They have a fear of falling from high places and getting hurt. Nobody has a fear of speaking in public. They have a fear of doing something that gets them hurt. So we're afraid of the hurt. We're not afraid of the activity, but our minds convince us that we're afraid of the activity. And that's actually really sad, because when we think that we're afraid of speaking, we think we're afraid of reaching out, we think we're afraid of making phone calls, we think we're afraid of taking actions. How can we win? I mean, the only way that we're ever going to get anything that we want is to take action outside of this current comfort zone. But when we've decided that everything outside of this current comfort zone is dangerous, then it's literally like we've got this, I call it the border patrol of this internal dialogue full of all kinds of voices and all kinds of scary memories, keeping us inside where it's not dangerous. But outside is where all the joy is. Outside is where all the success is. And yet most of us have convinced ourselves that it's not worth the risk. So when we do coaching with people who say they have a fear of speaking, we identify where the fear actually is. You know where it usually is for most people? I don't know why this is a common thing, but I would say for almost everybody that I personally have dived into the fear of public speaking with, it almost always comes down to an incident in school where they went up in front of the classroom, tried to do a math problem on the board, and they got it wrong, and people laughed, and sometimes the teacher laughed, and then they decided the way to protect myself from this ever happening again is don't go up in front of a group of people and open your mouth and potentially look stupid. So all of our fears have a root origin. And when we can identify what that origin is, then we can actually deal with the fear. But if we don't do that, then we have this irrational but highly convincing belief that we're afraid of the things, we're afraid of the activities that could potentially lead to the negative outcome. So we got to identify what the issue actually is. For those of you that didn't hear my announcement at the very beginning, I actually have notes today, and I want to go according to these notes because I've stacked this stuff very intentionally. Denise says, how do you identify the root? You probably cannot. because you're the one that's blocking it. You probably need an outside perspective to identify the root. I'll get into a little bit more of that. So this is nothing new. I mean, this is how we've operated as humans forever. But in our current society, there are some things that are new. You know, the internet is really only 25 years old or so. And the way that we currently use the internet, I would say it's about 10 to 15 years old, if even that. And of course, it's changing all the time. And so what it has done is it is increased our ability to connect, whether it's connecting with people, connecting with information, connecting with remote visuals, like you can access cameras away from you. So it has increased our reach. And by increasing our reach, it has increased both the good and the bad. So the negative stuff in society is now just amplified because of the internet, and the good stuff in society is also amplified because of the internet. The internet is an amplifier. It's neither good nor bad. It's just a projection mechanism, basically. It increases our capacity for outreach. And then whatever we're going to do with that, we're going to do with that. So we can spread love a lot faster on the internet, or we can spread hate a lot faster on the internet. But the internet has caused us to start behaving differently. And then if you use or attack social media on top of that, you know, the way social media is used is just more of a traumatizing experience for a lot of people now. Whereas in the beginning, it was just a way to actually stay social and connect with people. And now it's turned into like the wild, wild west with all kinds of viruses and marketing and hatred and cyberbullying and all these things. So social media has now gotten into the way that we live life, and it's not going away. You know, social media is not going to go away. The internet's not going to go away. And so what is happening now is, so Denise says this is where counseling will come in. I want to just stop and address that real quick. Whether it's counseling or therapy or coaching, it doesn't really matter. You can have bad experiences in all three of those. You can have good experiences in all three of those, but you need to get to the root with some external perspective. You're not going to solve your own problems. It's just as simple as that. So I'll talk again a little bit more about that in a while. So what this has created now is a cyber fear that humans have never had. I mean, think about this. The human species is dealing with something that it has never had. In thousands and thousands of years of existence, it never had what is now this cyber reality. It never had a cyber fear. There was no reason to be afraid of something online because there was nothing online. There was no such thing called online. And when it was a novelty, the internet and social media, it was this cool thing that people were just like poking around, right? Like, oh, I could do some shopping over here, and I could actually send these emails, and I can connect with people, and then we can actually talk live. And now, you know, we've gotten to the point where we can do these live videos. So when it was a novelty, we were just learning again. It was like the little child who doesn't know what to be afraid of. We didn't know what this online experience was going to be, and we didn't know how it was going to affect us until we started having bad experiences, right? But again, it's just an increase of everything. So we saw a lot of businesses then see that this online space is a way to sell products. It's a way to push an agenda. So we saw a bunch of websites that were devoted to love, and they were devoted to religion, and they were devoted to pornography, and they were devoted to hatred and prejudice, and they were devoted to relationships. You know, they were devoted to all these things under the sun. There's tons of educational websites, blogs, all these things were new. And then we had to go explore this new world online. And with that exposure came negative experiences. And so there are a lot of scams online. There are a lot of schemes, people trying to steal your information, which has created this fear of being, taken advantage of. And I'm forgetting the name of it right now. It doesn't matter, but people stealing your identity. And so now we have all these protective mechanisms, and it's just a bunch of protection in ways that we didn't know we ever needed before. And then we actually went through the whole process of this fear creation cycle, or this protection cycle again. So we didn't know we could be taken advantage of online, and then we were taken advantage of. We didn't like it. We decided we have to protect ourselves against that thing. So then we started to create the fears. And then the fears started to be overgeneralized and exaggerated so that we would rather be safe, obviously, than vulnerable. And we developed all this protection against the world, this new online world. And because the online space is moving so fast, it's putting people in a frenzied state of protection. And when we're in this frenzied state, we would rather default to protect than to explore. And so now, of course, I'm not saying this is how every human being is. We have a lot of people that don't operate this way, but I'm talking about the collective market. And in a moment, we're going to move this into entrepreneurialism, but you have to understand what kind of humans we are actually dealing with now, because they're not the same. So what's happened is online, not just online, but there's a level of distrust now that I think has never been seen before in our society. That's just my hypothesis. Of course, I don't have a way to measure that, but that's my theory. There was never a big enough reason for us to distrust at the levels that we distrust now. Because if we're just vulnerable and we trust and love everybody, chances are we're going to be taken advantage of, because there's just so much more amplification, specifically because of the internet. And then you've got cyberbullying, which was never a thing when I was around. I mean, I can't even imagine what life would have been like as a young kid growing up with cyberbullying. Because now, we're always, I don't want to put this into the future like we're always going to have it, but we still have the same traditional bullying where the kids are pushing kids down, taking lunches, calling names, all that stuff. But now some kids that don't even have the guts to be a bully in person, they've got all this internet courage when they're behind the screen or they're behind their phone, and then they can rage on people. And a lot of times it's just, it's just the perpetuation of a cycle, right? But the point is, our society is afraid in ways that it's never been afraid before. And so we are literally dealing with fears that we as a human species have not dealt with before. We've dealt with the process of fear, but not these specific fears. So this is kind of where we find ourselves 25 years in to the internet, and really 10 to 15 years in to the social media and marketing phase. And I would say over the last 3 years, it has changed dramatically in terms of the level of trust and the level of engagement. People just aren't engaging like they once were. They're not answering emails like they once were. And I'm coming from a business owner who started my business at the very beginning of all of this. So I've seen the changes. I've seen the responses completely go down. For me, it was 2015 when people started to remove themselves from the engagement that up until then was actually kind of easy to get. Now, I'm not saying there's no engagement out there. Hang with me, because I'm going to talk to you about how we get that engagement and a better level of engagement. But for the most part, we've got people that are less likely to engage because they're withholding their trust. And also, we have this society that's so driven by diagnose and prescribe mentality. What's wrong with me? Give me a numbing mechanism. Give me a pill, give me a drink, give me a quick fix, and let me just get in and get out. I don't want to deal with all my stuff. I don't want to deal with the reality. So we have people with, life-threatening heart conditions just taking medicine and not actually treating the cause. Like, that's a pretty big deal if we don't treat the cause of something that could actually kill us. So we have this mentality that I think a lot of us are dealing with, and the way it's working itself into the business world is that people are by default not trusting now of the space where they've been taken advantage of online. And that is through marketers, people reaching out to them. Hey, click on this link, sign up for this thing, buy this program, whatever. And so we have developed this fear of people coming in like that. We can't trust them. So I'd rather be safe. I'd rather go back into the house, right? And we have all this attention problem as well, because we're withdrawing and we've got this super fast moving society. The most valuable asset, I think, from a marketing standpoint is people's attention. If you don't have their attention, they're not going to listen to what you have to say. I mean, a bunch of people have already dropped off this video if I see the little numbers, right? And I've just got to not let that mean something about me. It just means whatever it means. I don't know. We'll can maybe get into that a little bit later. But people aren't giving their attention to marketing as much anymore because that's how they got burned. So if I'm not going to fall for it, that's what a lot of people are thinking. I'm not going to fall for it. I'm not going to give you my email because then you're just going to spam me. I'm not going to buy anything. You're just going to steal my identity. And so people are defaulting to protection and not engagement. So then the question is, from a marketing standpoint, from a business standpoint, how do we get their attention? Well, what's happening now is a lot of the companies, a lot of the businesses and social media platforms are using every gimmick they can to keep our attention. You know, like you've all probably tried to click off a website and then a pop-up comes up that says, hey, don't go, right? Like that's their last ditch effort to keep you in the room when you're about to leave. There are all kinds of things that social media platforms are doing in their platforms specifically because they know how the brain is wired. Did you know they've done studies and there's a reason that they make us scroll upwards with our thumb instead of down? If we went down, we would spend less time on their platforms. There's a reason that the notifications come in a circle and not a square, because the circle is more intriguing and enticing and inducing of endorphins, right? And there's a reason that they have the colors that they have. There's a reason the edges are rounded and not square. You know, there's millions and millions of dollars being put into research to try to capture our attention. So this is the competitive nature that we're in. Now we've got all these businesses that are trying to keep consumers' attention, and we've got consumers that don't want to give their attention. That's where you and I, need to fit ourselves in. We need to understand what's happening here, because if you're learning tactics in whatever business that you're in that used to work 3 years ago, they're probably not working anymore. Even things that used to work maybe a year ago, they're probably not working anymore because of this, what feels like this perpetual tug of war. No, I'm not going to give you my attention. Yes, give me your attention. Let me seduce you with all my gimmicks. So we are literally being programmed differently now. And we are being programmed by distractions. We're being programmed by notifications. It's actually very difficult for those of us that spend a lot of time on social media or spend a lot of time on our phone. It's very difficult for us to avoid the temptations, right? We got to turn our phone off. We got to put it away. We got to do something to not see the temptation. Because if we see the temptation and somebody just commented on my video, oh, wow, maybe it's somebody that wants to hire me as a coach. Maybe it's somebody who says I'm full of shit and I don't know what I'm talking about. And so I got to, find that out so I can put out the fire, right? I go to any extreme. I apologize. Too late for the use of language, but that's what goes through my head because that's one of my fears. People thinking I don't know what I'm talking about. So whenever you get a certification, like Michelle just is not paying attention to this video because she's commenting on my post in one of our groups. But now I really want to know what Michelle just said, right? So we are programmed to need to know what those notifications are. And it's literally in our brains now. It's not just a matter of us being able to have willpower or whether we're lazy or disciplined or not. We're being programmed this way from the time that we're little. Now, many of us, if we're 35 years old or so, or 30 years old, the internet showed up after we were through our formative childhood years. Well, that'll never happen again. There will never be another child that doesn't have access to technology in the earliest years. So this is literally a changing of our society. And we have to understand this if we're going to be able to succeed, if we're going to be able to win. So the bottom line is people are tired of the marketing. And now let's get specific with the personal development industry. We're all in personal development of some kind. Whether you're in direct sales or you're in the coaching industry, we're all in personal development of some kind. And people are now becoming irritated by, and they are now not trusting the personal development industry, which makes me really sad because this is the industry that should be the savior on some level. This is the industry that should teach us about ourselves and give us development in people, person, humanity, us, me, you. That's what we need to combat all of this stuff. But the marketers have gotten into the personal development industry also, and it's unregulated. That's the thing. That's one of the problems. See, if you're in law, or if you're in medicine, or even a lot of you that are in direct sales, there are laws that say you can't promise people this. You can't promise people that. There are no laws that say we can't do anything in the coaching industry. So the smart marketers are saying, what are these people demanding? And let's sell it to them because they seem really desperate around it. Now, when we're wanting to seek information about ourselves or free ourselves from pain and fear, we will be desperate. And we all have this desire, especially diagnose, prescribe. We have this desire for what I call a blank check outcome. We all have something that we would write a blank check for. It's so meaningful to us that we would write a check and say, you fill in the numbers. I don't care how much it costs because that's how much I need this. And since we're looking for these blank check desires and there's no regulation in the personal development industry that says you can't sell people things that aren't possible to deliver, then it's actually being sold. And people are getting their prayers answered in a way that is actually impossible sometimes, or the methods that are used to sell these blank check desires are not very substantial or sustainable. So people will buy these things from a place of desperation, from a place of very shallow loyalty, commitment, motivation, and then they'll get the thing and it most of the time won't work out. Even if the thing is good because you bought it from desperation, you won't use it properly. So we're colliding. We're colliding in an altered state. We're colliding with these solutions. We're looking for the solutions from desperation. We're being sold these solutions out of desperation, and then they're not working. And a lot of times, then it leads people to think, well, everybody in that industry or everybody selling that kind of product is full of it. So now what truly does make me sad, like this hurts me in my neurology when I hear people say things like, oh, life coaching is such a scam, or network marketing is such a scam. Don't go after any of those speakers and trainers. They're all full of it. They're all snake oil salesmen. I got called a snake oil salesman one time online. Some guy watched the video and he said, oh, here's a snake oil salesman. And that saddens me because I truly believe that we have the answer. We have the answer of what people need to understand themselves. And yet people now have this fear of being taken advantage of that is also being placed in an industry, personal development, that should be the one that's rescuing them on some level, should be the one that's giving them the hope. Now, of course, in no way do I think that all the marketers and salespeople are doing this. They're not intentionally trying to deceive people, but we live in a Yelp society. Negative news travels 100 times faster than positive news. So people are afraid of being taken advantage of. And then especially in the personal development world where this is a tender, vulnerable conversation. So if you step forward and say, please help me understand me, or please help me fix me, and then you get taken advantage of in whatever that means to you, because you were vulnerable, because this is a tender conversation, that's going to hurt more. It's going to cause more anger. It's going to cause more outrage, and it will cause more of a backlash usually. Now, sometimes that means people will just refund, ask for a refund, send back a product, and talk bad about the person. Sometimes people will say, okay, I'll never do that again. But see, here's what you have to understand. That kind of seduction, there's a reason that it doesn't work. Because if it's seductive to our desperate desires, then it's not talking to a place that's deep within us. So what do we do? I'm going to talk about this from two different angles, but I want to say one more thing that I forgot to say. We also have the human journey of pain, the human journey of trauma, the human journey of fear. So most humans have a neurological trauma trapped in their bodies. Now, some of them is really deep, like abuse and molestation and victims of severe crime. Some of them not so deep. It could just be divorce. I went through my parents' divorce. It could be some kind of backlash, some kind of deep embarrassing moment, right? It doesn't matter that we measure trauma against other people's trauma. What matters is that we all individually have our deepest trauma, regardless of what it is. To us, relatively, it's as deep as it goes. And because we have this trauma, everything I was talking about in terms of being afraid is exaggerated even more, because now we've got this neurological piece of our bodies that are in hyper protective mode. And a lot of the things that are happening in society because of social media and because of some of the disruptions that are happening in society right now, a lot of that trauma is being triggered for a lot of people. And so this trauma is being triggered, but people don't know where to go. And the answers for a lot of them, they've already created a resistance for. So this is the world that you and I are in. However you've played a part or not, this is the world that we're in. It doesn't matter that you or I never traumatized or took advantage of anybody. If we show up in a way that they've already decided is a risky way, then we are therefore risky. So we have to understand this to know what we're going to do. So my suggestion or my theory right now is twofold from two different perspectives, right? We need to look at consumers. I'm going to talk briefly about consumers, and then the rest of this video is going to be all on entrepreneurialism in business. What do we have to do? From a consumer standpoint, you have to know yourself. If you don't know yourself, then you will be much more susceptible to other people telling you who you are, and other people telling you who you're not, and other people telling you what you need to fix the brokenness that's inside you. If you don't know who you are, then all of it's going to sound good because they're really good at being seductive. Anything that pulls you away from who you are is not a good proposition, in my opinion. It's not a good choice. But you can't decide to not do something that pulls you away from who you are if you don't know who you are. So part of this is a responsibility message of we need to know ourselves so that we can get the help and the support that we actually need. But what's happening is a lot of us don't know. Like one of the questions already said, well, how do you know the root cause? So here's a person, however old that person is, doesn't know the root cause. So if you don't know the root cause, then any cause sounds like it might be the one. And then we just start chasing. And we're chasing from this place of, can we just fix this fast? Which is disrespectful when we're dealing with the complex human being. Now, of course, I'm not trying to say anything negative about the person that wrote this comment. This is what's happening in society. We don't know the quote unquote problem, so we don't know the solution. Therefore, we fall prey to any solution that sounds good. So part of this message is you got to know yourself. You've got to be willing to know who you are and what you need and who you're not and what you don't need. But that's not easy because most of us are afraid of knowing ourselves. Most of us are programmed to trap any painful memories outside of our awareness. I'm not going to go off on this because it would take 2 hours if I really dove in detail, but those are actually our most sacred experiences, is the things that most of us are trying to trap down. The more that we play whack-a-mole with our pain and our emotions, the more that we distance ourselves from ourselves, because that's who we are. Those are the things that we need to know. If we're ever going to know this soul while it's in this human body, we have to do it differently than the way that most of us have been programmed and the way that society is programming. It's not about numbing out the pain. It's about, this is real. And nobody chose this. Like, you didn't choose to be born into the circumstances you were born into, although some people think so, but you didn't have a conscious choice and go, you know what? I really want to deal with abuse in my childhood and divorce, and let's throw some death in there and let's throw some grief. I'm going to go ahead and choose that route. It's not like we're playing the game of life and you can choose to go get a job or choose to go to college. You don't get that kind of choice in life. So when we turn away from things that we experience in our life, we're turning away from ourselves and we're doing ourselves such a huge disservice. Because if you don't know yourself, how do you like yourself? If you don't know yourself, how do you love yourself? If you don't know yourself, how do you help yourself? So we have to take ownership and responsibility for who we are so that we don't fall prey to the seduction of who we're not. We don't make our choices out of desperation, because a lot of those gimmicks are feeding off of that desperation. Now, I also want to be very clear. This is not an indictment against anybody. This is not a judgment against people that sell and market certain ways. Most people are not intentionally deceiving. This is an indictment against people who intentionally deceive. I have a lot of judgment towards that, but that's not all that common. But we have to understand that we're falling prey to all these things because we don't know ourselves. And a lot of us don't even know what's possible. We don't know that it's possible to drop pain that we've had our entire life. We don't know that it's possible to stop a story in our head that says we're not good enough. Nobody cares what you have to say. That was my story. It still shows up every once in a while, but I have such a stranglehold on it. I have so much more control over it that I recognize it's just a silly story. But we don't even know that it's possible to get over fears, that it's possible to reprogram our brains back to the way it once was, right? Like, we all kind of have, although it's not this easy, but we have the ability to reset the computer. Let's go back to a time before all the viruses hit. It's not that simple and that easy, but it is possible. We're dealing with the programming and programming of a human brain, but it's not possible according to the way society programs us, according to the way that we just want to trap or avoid and numb. That's pretty much our MO. So that's what we have to do from our perspective. Now, several of you don't know much about me, or you don't know much about what I call neurotransformational coaching. This is when we actually can change the neurology. We have fears and traumas and beliefs and all these things trapped in our bodies. And our bodies actually make choices faster than our heads do. So a lot of us are trying to fix our head and nobody's touching the body. Nobody's realizing that, you know what, your pain, your trauma, your fear, your beliefs, they actually have a place that they live inside our body. This is called embodiment work. So we have a lot of people, plenty of you will probably resonate with this, that have become so intellectually magnificent and still sabotage yourself on a daily basis. Still can't figure out why you can't stick to the diet. Still can't figure out why you can't control your anger when your girlfriend or boyfriend or child or parents or siblings say something to you. You know what you're supposed to say, but your body just reacts. It's because your body chooses before your head remembers or before your head has a chance to affect the behavior. The body goes, this is what we're going to do. And now if you go back to what I said earlier, when people are dealing with deep trauma, when people are dealing with life or death situations in their childhood, and they're living with alcoholism, they're living with constant anger, constant arguments, when they're living with all that stuff, as a little kid, if you literally swam in a bath of trauma, you can't just intellect your way out of that. Your body is a mechanism of itself. It's connected to our brain. It's connected to all this stuff, but it needs to be identified with, and it needs to be healed, and it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be confronted. Otherwise, it will just, under the radar, sabotage everything you try to do. So most people are actually highly prepared intellectually for whatever it is their goals are, and completely 100% unprepared neurologically in their bodies, and they're not doing anything about it because we just don't know. Now, for any of you that want to experience this, we made a choice recently in our company that people don't know about this stuff, so we want them to experience it. If any of you, even if you don't think it's possible, then prove me wrong, please. Prove us wrong. But if you want to experience what this is like, then I'm going to type in a URL here. I'm going to tell it to you as well. It's Coach Sean Smith /try coaching. You should be able to actually click on this link when I put it in the comments there. So those of you that are on the comments live, watching live, you can click on that link. Otherwise, we'll put it below in the comments on the video. If you want to experience what a neurotransformational shift is like, jump on. Let us show you what's actually possible. Excuse me. What's actually possible. And this isn't going to be a sales call. This is going to be a coaching call. I have a deep passion now, way more than I ever had, around getting people healed, getting people the neurological shifts that most of humanity just doesn't have access to. So click on that link and try coaching. All right, let me get back to these notes here. I did go off on one of my little tangents there. Now, when we are focused on ego-driven, surface-level outcomes like how to make money or how to lose weight really quick, we are asking to be disappointed. Because it's not coming from a place of depth. It's coming from a shallow place of desperation. And most people have been trying to lose weight quickly for 40 years. Sweetheart, something's not working. And replacing the latest diet with the next diet ain't going to do it. People have been trying to go after certain goals in their direct sales company. I mean, I remember asking a client one time, she said she had a certain goal to get an outcome. And I said, how long is that going to take? She said, it should take me 3 months. And I go, how long have you had the goal? She said, 10 years. So I said, so you have a 3-month goal that you haven't achieved for 10 years. That's a problem. There's something in the recipe that's missing. And what I'm telling all of you is it's in your body. There's an embodied response. There's an embodied fear. There's an embodied belief, there's an embodied something that won't allow you to do your work. So for instance, most women, I've been coaching almost entirely, exclusively women for 12 years. Most women that I've connected with and studied and coached, most women have a fear of visibility, have a fear of physically being seen, because that's where the danger was. Especially if you've been abused on any level, then your body said the only way we can be in danger is if people see us. If they can't see us, well, then they can't hurt us. Okay, great. So then the body develops this fear of visibility, this fear of being seen. Sometimes the body creates a protection layer with physically our bodies, with weight, with food, or just whatever fears that it will create, fear of public speaking, fear of leaving the house, fear of whatever. It's a protection mechanism. So most women actually have a fear of visibility and a fear of speaking their voice, because women have, since the dawn of civilization almost, their voice has been squashed. So you've got this embodiment fear for most women of what happens when you speak up. Many of us heard our parents tell us children are supposed to be seen and not heard, or, just told in whatever way, shape, or form to shut your mouth and be quiet. Don't cry, or I'll give you something to cry about, some form of shutdown. So women, a lot of women, now this isn't only exclusive to women, and this isn't all women, but in my experience, most women have a fear of visibility and a fear of speaking their voice, and yet they're trying to become successful in ways that are going to demand them be seen and speak. If your body has a primal commitment, if your body has a primal commitment to not be seen and not be heard so that it can't be hurt, and you start learning how to sell, how to overcome objections, you start learning how to recruit, you start learning how to market, your body this whole time is going, you can try all of that you want. I ain't gonna do it. Not gonna do it. I imagine several of you, especially women, are probably seeing this now, that because you can't understand why you just don't pick up the phone. You can't understand why you just don't write the blog post. You just don't do the video. It's because your body has said, nope, not doing it. And you can't intellect your way out of that. So as consumers, we need to take responsibility for knowing ourselves and knowing what we need. Now let's move to entrepreneurs. As entrepreneurs, you need to understand all that stuff that I just talked about. Because if you're demanding people take what they perceive as risks, they're not going to want to do it. And the stuff that used to get people to take these risks once upon a time probably don't work anymore. So we have to understand the society we're dealing with. We have to understand the individual people we're dealing with, and then we have to respond accordingly. So the society, as I said, has lost trust. We as entrepreneurs, then, we need to give them trust. And we can't do it the way we used to be able to do it. Once upon a time, we could create trust by impressing people. Hey, look at where I went to school. Look at all these letters after my name. Look at all these degrees. Look at me. Look at how pretty I am. Look at how put together I am. Look at how nice my tie is. We used to be able to impress people, and then they would trust us. Well, a lot of those people that look like that took advantage of those people. So now the more perfect you appear, the less people trust you. So not only do those methods not work anymore, they do the opposite. And people are more skeptical of perfection than they are trusting of perfection. So we can't do it that way anymore. We have to create trust in a whole new way. Now, the good news is that's actually very easy. but it's scary. What most businesses are doing is they're just playing that attention game. They're competing with everybody, trying to get the attention. And while we have their attention, let's get their money. We can't do that anymore. Those businesses will go obsolete. I promise you that. I want to be on record right here when we filmed this video saying at some point in the very near future, those businesses will be obsolete because people will no longer pay them anything because they're sick and tired of it. What people are demanding is that they see your humanity. That's the only way to get trust now. Humanity, authenticity. If I can see myself in you, then I can trust you. And if I see that you're not perfect, if I see that you're actually a real human being, then that means you're more like me, which means I trust you more. So don't try to impress me with your perfection. Every single thing you put on the list trying to impress me loses credibility for you now. We are moving in that direction. We're not there yet because those people are still able to sell products and people are still looking for those quick fix. But very soon the market will say no more. We're not having it. If you look perfect, I'm not interested. I'm not even clicking on your link to sell me anything anymore. And all businesses that are especially in this world of personal development, that are operating that way will go out of business. And I don't care how big of celebrities they are right now. I don't care how big their list is. They are going out of business if they don't have the guts to be real. That's where the opportunity is fantastic for you and I. If you have the guts to be real, you can do this. But see, what most people are learning in the entrepreneurial world is I'm not succeeding the way I am right now. Therefore, I must be broken. Therefore, I must need something. Therefore, I must need to learn how to sell like those people. I must need to learn how to look like those people. I must need a website like those people. I must need a funnel like those people. I must need to overcome objections like those people. The operating phrase here is like those people. Anything that is involved in like those people is bullshit. It's got to be more like you. Anything that pulls you away from you is wrong. And if you win being less you, that's losing, you guys. Winning inauthentically is losing. And when I say inauthentically, I'm not saying people that are intentionally deceiving. I'm using the word authentic as being truthful to who you are or who you're not. If you develop a skill set that pulls you away from your authenticity and you succeed with that skill set, that is an egregious failure, in my opinion. And at some point, that's going to fall. I'd rather you fail authentically than succeed inauthentically, because then we can build success around the authentic you. But as long as you think, I need to be different, therefore I need to gain these skills that are going to pull me away from who I authentically am, it cannot work. It cannot work. It will not work. So as entrepreneurs, don't play that game. You're shooting yourself in the foot. Don't try to win a game that is sinking. Don't try to win this game that currently is happening right now when I'm telling you in a very short period of time, that whole thing is coming down. So why struggle to win a game that pulls you away from who you are if the game is going to be obliterated very soon? So stop playing those tactics. We have to start with who you are. And I said earlier that the scarcest resource is attention. You want to know how to get people's attention? Simple. Be real. Be you. They've never seen you before. If the human brain sees a thing that it's never seen before, not only will it give its attention, it cannot withhold its attention. It cannot. Listen to me. The human brain cannot ignore something it hasn't seen. It can't. It's neurologically impossible. So why would you try to become something that they've already seen? Then you have to be a better version of the thing that's going down anyway. So it's so simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. We just need to be more us, more you. We need to get rid of the things that are stopping you from being you. And some of those things are internal. A lot of those things are the fears that I'm talking about. The fear of protection or the protective fear of speaking, the protective fear of visibility. Those are keeping you from being you. Don't try to succeed on top of what's already not you. Let's remove what's not you. And then you can succeed. I promise you this. I promise you this with every ounce in my being. I promise you this. And I also know that's not what's being taught. What's being taught is an old game. I promise you the game is ending. If you have the courage to be authentic and you're willing to see yourself and do the work on yourself that's required, then you can win. You can make it. So I want to make a distinction here for you. You know, I have this analogy. I've used this analogy for a long time, and I've actually tried to find another analogy because I didn't like the way this analogy sounded. But I did some research earlier today, and now this analogy is, it's so good. It's so good. So what I've been saying a long time is that in the marketing world, there are sharks and there are dolphins. The sharks are the ones that are competing for all the attention. The sharks are the ones that are seducing. The sharks are the ones that are doing all the things that are creating a lot of the trauma out there. The dolphins are the ones that just want to help people. They just want to have fun. They just want to teach people, but they don't know how to succeed because all they see is the sharks winning. And so they go to the shark workshop and the shark teaches the dolphin how to be more like a shark. And then the dolphin can't operate like the shark. And then the dolphin just beats himself up or herself up. That he should be more like a shark. He understands how to do like a shark. He understands he was just taught by a really good shark. How come I can't be more like a shark? Because you're a dolphin. That's why you can't be more like a shark. And listen, dolphins and sharks are different people. Now, when I use this analogy, the reason I didn't want to use it before is because I don't want you to think that I'm saying shark in the terms of intentional deceit. We call people sharks if we think they're intentionally trying to deceive people. That's not what I'm saying. This is not a values judgment. This is just sharks operate a certain way. Dolphins operate a certain way, but they live and play together. They probably don't play together. Sharks don't play a whole lot, but they live in similar habitats. They look roughly similar. They operate in many of the same ways, but they are fundamentally different animals. Sharks are fish. Dolphins are mammals. Sharks breathe through the water through gills. Dolphins, they have lungs, just like you and I. They need to go up and get air, right? Sharks and dolphins operate differently, and this is the one that fascinates me the most. I love this so much. This is why this analogy will always be something that I use. I never knew this. I mean, I guess I've known this, but it never crystallized until I studied this morning. A shark's tail is vertical. And a shark uses that vertical tail to go left and right. That's why sharks swim like this. And they're fast. A dolphin's tail is not vertical. A dolphin's tail is horizontal. That's why dolphins go up and down. That's why they swim like this. Their bodies use a diametrically oppositional direction. They use the exact opposite direction. Instead of up and down, the sharks go left and right. So when you go to the shark school and the shark teaches you how to swim by moving your tail left and right, your tail goes this way. You try to swim like a shark. You're like, it's not working. Yeah, because you have a different tail. You're not a shark. Don't try to operate like they operate. You have a different foundation. In this analogy, you have a literally different body. And by the way, I would say the same thing to the sharks. This is a distinction. This is not good, bad. These guys are better than those guys. This is a distinction. If I was teaching sharks, I would tell them, don't listen to how to be a shark from dolphins. Their tails go the different way than you. So it's just about knowing who you are and knowing who you're not, and stop trying to learn from people that you're not. And a lot of in this business, what we get taught is how to succeed by people who don't operate the same way that we succeed. And then we get frustrated because we can't just implement what they're teaching us. In the direct sales world, we see this a lot. I've always called this the 97% rule. 97% of the people are dolphins. 3% of the people are sharks. Again, not a negative connotation here, but 3% of the people can see what they're supposed to do, and then they go do it, and then they succeed. And then they get up on stage and teach everybody how to succeed like they did. But it's the sharks teaching the dolphins. When I'm coaching dolphins, I'm telling them, listen, just understand, pull from their teachings what will apply to you, but don't try to become like them. When I'm coaching the sharks, I'm saying, listen, you got to understand, you're teaching dolphins. Their tail doesn't operate the same way yours does. They can't just say, I want this goal and I'm going to go out and get it and I'm going to do everything that I possibly can. So there's a disconnect between both sides. This is not right or wrong. None of them is better. Neither one's better than the other. It's just we're dealing with different people. And as a dolphin, you can't try to eat like a shark. You can't try to swim like a shark. You can't try to operate like a shark. And here's another cool thing. They communicate differently too. Dolphins have those sounds, I forget what they're called, but they have the sounds that travel long distances. So what does that mean? That means that other dolphins can hear you when they can't see you. So what does all this mean in implementable terms in ways that we need to operate in society, or in our business rather, with the society that we have? I want to take this distinction and I want to put a relevant term on it, or two relevant terms. In business, we either have salespeople or we have teachers. The salespeople, in my analogy, are like the sharks, not intentional deceivers. Don't get that negative connotation. The teachers are like the dolphins. If you're a teacher and if you're struggling in business and you're still listening to me, I guarantee you're a teacher. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be struggling in business when all the ways to win at business are available. So if you haven't been implementing those, then you're a teacher. And if you're a teacher trying to sell like a salesperson, it will never work. Now, we're not dealing in the either or. Salespeople need to teach and teachers need to sell. But if you're struggling, you're probably coming from a teaching perspective and you haven't been successful because you've been trying to implement salespeople tactics. And even if the tactics themselves work, the frame of thinking is different. So you can be a teacher and sell hard, like really advocate for people. You can be a teacher and say a lot of the exact same things that the salespeople are saying, but you're saying it from a different place. You're saying it with a different energy. So it's not the words that come out of the mouth. It's not the tactics that are being used. It's the source. It's where is it coming from? If you're a teacher, you need to be a better teacher, not a better salesperson. And a lot of the salespeople teach salespeople how to teach salespeople how to sell. So if you see a lot of the marketing courses out there, they're taught by marketers who teach marketing to marketers. Nothing wrong with that. For marketers who want to teach marketing to marketers, nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment I have whatsoever about that. But if you're not a marketer who wants to teach marketing to other marketers, then that recipe just might not work, because we're dealing with a different product. We're dealing with a different kind of person. We're dealing with a different system. We're dealing with different prospects. We're dealing with different customers. There's so many differences. It's crazy that anybody would think, if we're looking at it from this perspective, these analogies, these distinctions, it's almost crazy that anybody would think that recipe would work over here. So as a dolphin, don't jump in the shark tank. Don't try to compete with the sharks in the shark tank. Be who you are over here as yourself. Now, one thing that is really critical, and I'll tell you this, there's a reason that I haven't been teaching this. I've had these thoughts for years. There's a reason that I haven't been teaching this, because I didn't have the body for it. For the last, I don't know how many years, I've been sitting in the dolphin tank, judging the sharks and getting angry because the sharks aren't supposed to win, because I had judgments that the sharks were the bad guys. And so I was just over here feeling sorry about myself and for myself, not taking any responsibility, not really serving the people that I could serve, because I was judging the sharks, judging the people that are doing it the wrong way. Well, it wasn't until recently that I actually let go of what the wrong way is and the right way. It's pretty selfish of me, pretty egotistical of me to think that my way is the right way and anybody else's way is the wrong way. And it wasn't until I started seeing as these are just two different paths rather than one's better than the other that I started to lose my judgment toward that path and toward the people that are teaching that path. And because of that, now I can be more present to my path because we cannot be authentically ourselves while we're judging others. So this is, again, it's an exercise in responsibility. We've got to be who we are. We've got to know that's not my teacher. That's not my subject. That's not my curriculum. That's not my school. This is my school. This is my teacher. This is my curriculum. And those are the people that I'm trying to help. And then help them from a teaching standpoint. So if you learn how to market your teaching, that's way different than marketing your marketing or marketing your sales. So what has to happen in business? There's two things for you to succeed in business, for us to succeed in business. Two things. Number one, we've got to gain people's trust by being authentic. And number two, we've got to enjoy the process by being authentic. So the good news is authenticity does both of those. From a business standpoint, we're going to get people's trust. From a personal, energetic flow standpoint, we're going to enjoy ourselves more. And then it will be a cycle that feeds off of itself, and it creates this magnetism. Remember, authenticity attracts attention. AAA, remember that. Authenticity attracts attention. And authenticity demands trust. It doesn't request trust. It doesn't command trust. Perfection commands trust. Perfection says, I am perfect, therefore you should trust me. Authenticity says, this is who I am. I really don't care about your judgment of me because your judgment of me really has nothing to do with me, but this is who I am, take it or leave it. And everybody falls in love with that because you can't not. You can't not. So the game is actually incredibly simple, but scary for a lot of people. But if you're not willing to go this route, you will be obsolete. The ship is going down. Don't try to compete with the sharks. Don't try to compete with the gimmicks. And the other thing is the people that are competing on the front lines that we see as we look out and go, how do we build a coaching business? How do we build a health business? How do we build whatever business? We see the people that are competing on the front lines because that's who we're looking at, right? And then we think, okay, that's how you compete. That's how you succeed. That's how you win. And then we want to enter that competition and model what they're doing. That's crazy. Do you know what's behind the scenes? Sometimes full-blown misery. Not all the time, but sometimes. So don't be seduced by what they're showing you because behind the scenes could be an absolute train wreck. I'm not saying that everybody's like that. I'm not judging that. I'm not saying everybody who's successful is miserable, but I've met plenty of them. And so don't trust just what you see. But the other thing is when you go behind the scenes, whether they're miserable or not, doesn't matter. They've done so many different things that are not you. Sometimes they've just been doing it for a long, long time. Sometimes they have, I know a woman who spends $50,000 in advertising on Facebook per day. How do you compete with that? How do you compete with that? So there's this, and she doesn't do it. She pays other people to do it. So there's this specialization that's happening because everybody's competing for the attention and they're trying to get the money with the gimmicks and all that. There's so much competition that we couldn't compete if we tried. So don't try. Be you. Teach. Care about people. Give a damn about people. Be yourself. Use your authenticity. Use your pain. Use the lessons that you've learned to show up and serve somebody, and they'll feel it. And when that happens, there will be a level of loyalty that the salespeople, the sharks, the other people that are just using the gimmicks could never produce. Trust me, there are a lot of people in the online space that have million-dollar businesses, multi-million-dollar businesses, and zero customer loyalty. There are a lot of people that do these gigantic launches, seven-figure launches, and they don't tell you that half of them request a refund. Why would they tell you that? That's not going to get you to buy their thing. See, there are a lot of things that there are a lot of truths about this industry of personal development a lot of people don't see because we're blinded by what they're showing us, or we're blinded by our own protection, or we're blinded by what we hope is real. But the way to succeed in business going forward is to actually be real. Be real. Listen, this thing called life, this opportunity to free ourselves from restriction and fears, and this opportunity to create whatever it is that we want to create, if we have the guts to be responsible and we have the guts to take ownership of our lives and the ability to lose weight, the ability to make money, the ability to serve people, the ability to love so hard that it takes you to depths that you didn't even know was possible, that opportunity is good enough. You don't have to make it sound better with any lies. But that's what the gimmicks are doing. They're trying to make the most insanely incredible blessing better with lies or with just hiding the truth. Maybe it's not a full-blown lie. It's just, I forgot to tell you that 45% of the people asked for a refund after I siphoned money out of their wallet. Oops. Forgot. Okay. So it wasn't a full-blown lie, but we didn't actually tell the truth. This happens a lot in network marketing and direct sales. Don't lie. Be real. Say, listen, this is what it's going to take. It's not going to be easy. And if you do it, it'll be worth it. That's really the opportunity for everything, regardless of the industry, regardless of the product. It's not going to be easy, but it'll be worth it. And I'm not going to lie to you. That's how you get people's trust. That's how you get loyalty. And that's how you get a level of connection that is literally not available in the other way. There's too much shallow connection based on seduction, based on gimmicks, based on hype. Loyalty is not available there. So the message for you is to be more like you. Be real. We all have stuff that we need to work on. I still do. I've been doing this 12 years. I've been coaching people every single day. I have at least 1,000 videos that I've done on coaching. I do full-on live events. I've been in live seminar rooms over 300 days in the last decade. I've coached thousands and thousands of hours. I've certified hundreds and hundreds of coaches. I've been living in this coaching, personal development, deep dive work for a long time. And I'm still going. I'm still going. Because we're complex humans. We're changing all the time. So don't be searching for that quick fix. Don't be searching for the drive-through personal transformation. I actually asked somebody one time, or I had somebody ask me one time. She said, I was offering a live event. She goes, I don't want to go to the event, but could I just give you my brain and then pick it up on Sunday? Like, she didn't want to experience it because she was afraid, but she wanted the outcome of it. And let me tell you, like, the level of conviction that I now have in the human journey is at an all-time high in my life, meaning our most sacred moments are the ones that we're afraid of touching. Our biggest lessons are wrapped in the packages that we have stuffed in the corner of the closet that's locked up with 19 deadbolts. That's what we're meant to learn. And not only is that our biggest lesson, we'll just get more painful experiences until we learn the lesson. So if we don't want to go get it in the experiences that we already have, just wait to see what's coming up in the future. If you're not going to pay attention to the lessons that you need to learn, especially if you have a purpose of leadership, if you have a purpose of coaching, if you have a purpose of leading people in any way, shape, or form, you have to lead yourself. You have to be authentic. You cannot take people where you're not willing to go. if you want to be any kind of transformational force in people's lives, you need to suit up. Not in the way that most of us suit up with all these layers. You need to get prepared for that journey. And the good news is it's actually taking layers off, becoming more of who you are. But most people will not do that. So this is a calling forward as well of people who do want to be on the front end of what I think is going to be like a revolution. It's going to be like a revolution of authenticity, I think somebody called it the other day, where we have to redefine what success is. We have to redefine what leadership is. We have to redefine what business is. We have to redefine a lot of things in our society for us to come together again, for us to share more love again. For those of you that are interested in that, in whatever way you've chosen, whether it's in direct sales or you want to be a coach or you want to be a speaker, whatever way you've chosen, let's step forward. This is a calling forward of those of us who want to play that game. And we have to band together. We have to unenroll from the shark school, and we have to send out those signs, not the signs, but the sounds. And then we have to hear the sounds, and we have to come together, and we have to go on this journey in a group of committed, loving, supportive people. And if we do that, there's nothing that we can't accomplish individually and collectively. But more than that, to me, there's nothing that we can't accomplish out there for them. There's nothing that we can't heal. We got a lot of pain in our society, you guys. It can all be healed. This is one of the things that literally hurts me in my bones, that every single person, I've yet met a single human being that cannot heal their wounds, that cannot heal their pain, that cannot get rid of their fears. I've not met a single one where either myself or my coaches or people that I talk to in this world go, yeah, you know what? You're the one that's not helpable. Never met a single person, but almost everybody is afraid to say yes. They're afraid to say yes because they don't know what it's going to look like. They're afraid to say yes because they think it's going to be painful. They're afraid to say yes because they're actually afraid of being free. It's easier to just continue the same beliefs and the same restriction that you've had for 50 years than consider what life would be like if you didn't have the restriction. So most people actually choose the convenience and the comfort. And I could probably cry right now just thinking of people who I've seen make that choice. And this is a human being that could fundamentally, foundationally change their life, and they choose not to. But it is all possible. We need to band together, and we need to speak louder. We need to teach harder. We need to love harder. We need to be more authentically us, because we have people to save. We really, truly do. That's the level of conviction that I'm at now, is that we have people to save. So let's do it. I appreciate all of your words, even though I haven't read a lot of them, and I haven't, birthday suit. I see that one. That's what we got to suit up in our birthday suit, I guess, figuratively. So I'm going to, originally I wanted to do a 45-minute thing. I was going to set a timer, and then I realized this conversation is too big and I don't want to contain it in any kind of time restriction like that. So I appreciate all of you that were on. I want to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing to hopefully invite a lot of you and support a lot of you. And then I'll open it up for maybe a little bit of interaction here. But for those of you that are in the coaching industry, I'm going to start a program. You want to be a coach, or you're already a coach and you've been struggling on some level. I'm going to start a program. It's called the Foundations of Marketing for Coaches. It's everything that we've been talking about implementized, right? We're going to deal with the specifics of marketing, like social media and selling and delivering products, and how do you put together coaching packages, and all the how-tos. We're going to do that, but we're going to do it from a place of foundation. Like I said, I'm a life coach. I know that the thing that causes most people to fail is the inner game. I actually almost called this program the inner game of marketing, but I didn't want people to think that it was only the inner game, that they weren't going to get tactics, because most people are searching for the tactics. We do a lot of research on what people are searching for on the internet. And people are not searching for, how do I clear my childhood trauma? How do I get over the fear of visibility? How do I get over the fear of speaking my voice? They're not searching for those things. They're searching for, how do I make more money? Pretty much, that's it. So for those of you that are interested in being a coach, I don't have like a full-on pitch. I'm not going to tell you pricing and things like that because this video is going to stay on YouTube for a long time. And I don't know if these details are gonna stick around, but I'll tell you the essence of it. It will be open periodically to do the program live, and it will be available in some form online. So I'll give you a little bit of the details. It's a 12-month program because what I know is that people need support more than they need information. And so over the course of 12 months, I'm going to give you a lot of the content, the tactics, the how-tos, but I'm also going to give you a lot of the support. I think I said earlier in this video that if you have a question, like, actually I might have said it in a different video today. If you have a question of how do you implement what you just learned into your business, that's the shutdown moment for most people. So you can learn how to do webinars and you can learn how to do sales funnels and you can learn how to sell. But as soon as you have a question that sounds like, but does that work with my market? Does that work with me? Does that work with these kinds of people? Does that work online instead of offline or offline instead of online? As soon as you have the how do I implement this, that's a shutdown moment for most people. That's why most programs actually don't get consumed fully, because people have these stopping moments where they don't know the answer to this question, how to implement it into their unique situation, and so they quit. So the support in this program is going to be more valuable than the information in the program, and the information is going to be incredibly valuable. And we're going to be talking about foundational stuff, not fads, not how to use, like, put all your eggs into one basket of a certain online platform. I want to teach you how to market from a foundational place, how to teach, how to offer, how to sell from a foundational place, so that if Facebook goes away, you can still do the foundations of marketing in a different platform. But if all you know is how to do a specific platform like Facebook or how to do webinars, as soon as those stop working or that whole platform goes away, you're stuck. So this is really about learning how to fish rather than giving you fish, right? So it's a 12-month program, high level of support. It starts with a live event. You can either show up live right here in my studio, or you can just attend online virtually. So not being able to get here isn't a distraction for the event. You'll still be able to get the information. It'll be recorded and archived and all that. But it starts with a 2-day live event where we dive really at the core of what your business is, who you are. And from that place, then we're going to build out. You have to be authentically you and then build a business supportive of your authentic self, rather than build a business based on all these rules and all these tools out there and hope that you can stay authentic inside of it. It's not about searching for the tools and the rules. It's about being more authentically you and coming from a place of authenticity. And there's going to be inner work in here in the whole program. There's going to be any question that you have is going to be answered. So, I mean, there's literally nothing that you could need that won't be included, because if I haven't already put it in the curriculum, then you're going to ask the question and I'm going to give you the answer to it, or I'm going to find somebody who can give you the answer to it. So I'm really excited about this. You know, I haven't taught a marketing program for coaches in 5 years. And one of the reasons is because I was sitting in that place of judgment that I spoke to 20 minutes ago, whenever it was. And I didn't think I had the credibility. I didn't think I had the guts. I mean, now I can look back and say I didn't have the body for it, but I didn't know that I could handle this conversation. I didn't know that I had the boldness inside of me. I didn't know that I even had the ideas for all the curriculum. I just didn't know all that stuff. So it's been a long, long time. And when I asked myself, what's the program that I would want? It grew from a 4-month program to a 6-month program to a 12-month program. And I thought, you know, we need a year. We need a year if we're really going to do some of the foundational work. So that's how I've created the program. It's somewhat of a co-creation process because, as I said, anything that you guys need or want, you're going to ask and I'm going to fulfill however I possibly can. My desire is that I teach you how to and give you the support for how to be a successful transformational agent in your market, whatever that market is, whatever that product is that you have, and not just over the course of a year. I want to teach you things that if you're still doing this 10 years from now, you'll still be using a lot of these principles. And I'll open the doors. You'll have access to my team. You'll have access to some of our planning events, like strategic planning events. You'll have access to some of our team calls. You'll have access to a lot of the things that we do behind closed doors. I really want you to see what happens behind closed doors. Not that we are doing everything right, but we are doing everything real. And so I'd rather you know what the challenges are, what the problems are, and everything, as much of a glass house as we possibly can. So if you're interested, then you can go to Pink Caddy, not Pink Caddy Coach. I just read a notification. You can go to coachseansmith.com/foundations with an S. Foundations. pinkcaddycoach.com/foundations. I just said Pink Caddy Coach. I don't know why. That's a different site that I have. coachseansmith.com/foundations. coachseansmith.com/foundations. Or you can just send me an email, sean@coachseansmith.com. We have been having some challenges with our website. So if you go there and it kicks you out or it gives you an error or something like that, we're playing with those. Hopefully by the time you hear this video, if you're watching on replay, all of that is taken care of. But that's the website. Or send me an email, sean@coachseansmith.com, and I'll give you more information. We're going to start soon. So what do you think? What are your thoughts? What are your ahas? I don't know how many comments are in this chat box. There's a ton. And thank you, Michelle. Michelle put the link in there, and she also put my email address in there. If you guys have any questions specifically about anything that I said or anything you wish I would have said, then let me know. Denise, I'm glad this helped you tremendously. Good. Yeah, I see a lot of names of people that I don't know, and that's really exciting to me. That means our community is expanding. It also means there are people that I really haven't met yet, and we'd love to support you in any way that we can. So if you do have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and end this. Man, I love this chat box. I'm going to have to go back and read it. Although the problem is I don't know when the comments were said, so I don't know what it was referring to. But I just appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate your commitment. I appreciate your loyalty, not to me, but your loyalty to you, your loyalty to your seeker. I didn't talk about that in this video, but you all have somebody who's seeking the information that's in your head. And the more that you stay loyal and committed to serving that person, the easier business gets. So if you have questions about our program, let me know. For those of you that are going to join, I can't wait to get going. It's really going to be I want it to be a signature program for me. Like I want this to really just bring everything that I've got, all of my philosophies, everything that I've learned, and just dump it in here big time. And then what we're going to do with it in the future, who knows? I don't know. But I know that this industry is necessary for our society. This industry of personal development and coaching is necessary for our society. And so we have to save it. We really do, because it's going in the wrong direction. And we need more people like you that are 90 minutes into a video and you're still here. We need more people that are committed to doing this work. We need more people that are willing to heal themselves, clear their mirror, get rid of their fears so that they can help other people. And that's what my commitment level, or that's what I'm committed to at a level that I've never been committed to before. So if that's you, awesome. If this is where our paths diverge and you don't join, or we don't see you in any other videos, then I wish you the best. And for those of you that are going to jump in, then we're going to love you so hard. We're going to support you so hard. We're going to serve you so hard. That's what my commitment is. So take care, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.